Undoubtedly, Ghana has made great strides in improving the quality of education at all levels. We have achieved gender parity, and we are doing quite well. In spite of all this, there are serious challenges with our foundational stage gains. So if you talk about children from ages to 17, which is from the KG class 1 level to the JHS level, we have challenges. Clearly, the clip is giving us the information as to how we are faring. How can children of kindergarten be writing on the floor, sleeping and writing, not considering their physical posture in terms of sitting upright to write? Government has done very well in certain areas, but I think our foundational stage, which is the kindergarten to P1, should be looked at again. Budget allocations should be increased from 12% to 23%. And this is our job as civil society, to come and bring these messages to government to appreciate the importance of the early stage learning. If we do not build a strong foundation, how are we going to increase in the years ahead when children are lacking basic resources? Budgetary allocation at that level is so small. It's sad. It's not happening in Pandai alone. It's happening in a lot of places, a lot of communities, a lot of schools, where teachers are handicapped to perform their basic duty. Education is a right. I mean, it's clear it's a right. And fulfilling this right, it behoves on us to take bold action in areas that would ensure the vision statement that is designed or written on the SDGs. That is ensuring inclusive, safe, and healthy learning environments, empowering teachers, harnessing issues around digital revolution for the benefit of the public education system, and also invest more equitably and efficiently. You are talking about teaching and learning materials. You are talking about teacher capacity. You are talking about the learning environment. It's rather unfortunate that we are facing this situation after how many years of independence?
Let me bring. I'll come back to you for more on this, but let me bring in Reverend Isaac Owusu now. He is President of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. I am wondering, really, if this is not just a case of these people are coming from deprived communities anyway, most of them, and so, well, what's the point? They're already impoverished. Why should we kill ourselves to give them what we give people in urban centers like Accra and Kumasi? Because if that is not the case, why are we denying these children the dignity of chairs? These are chairs they need to sit on to study. What do you think the problem is? Why are we denying them this dignity as a people?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity. Please, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yes. We are where we are today because the successive government that has taken power to governing the affairs of this state has decided to overlook the principles stated in the 1992 Constitution under Article 38. Education in this country under Article 25 is one of the fundamental human rights. It is not just a privilege, but it's the right of every citizen of this country to have access to quality education. And that is why when you go to Article 38, it clearly states that the state that make everything possible to make facilities available to all the levels of education in this country. And it is very sad, my dear, to see Ghanaian children lying on the floor, sitting on the floor. And in any case, this thing didn't happen just yesterday. Since 1992, that we decided to practice democracy, we all agreed to abide the rules and regulations that we have enacted to govern ourselves. Now, when you go to this particular school, it is located within a district.
Mm-hmm.
The district has a district assembly headed by either the DC or the MP, who is the chairperson for either DIOP, that is District Education Oversight Committee, or MIOP, Municipal Education Oversight Committee. And if you look at the Local Government Act, it is stated clearly that even children that parents do not have money to cater for their children's education, it is the duty of the assembly through the social welfare to cater for such children. And this thing is not happening only in the northeast part of this country. In every region, you have such situation in every region, my sister. And when you look at this particular year, the budget that was given to the Minister of Education, you could see clearly that the budget was cut. And generally, the cut-off was affected the basic school. I think this government has done has done well, but the concentration and attention, to me, you look at it is at the secondary level. But you cannot build a story building when the foundation of that story building is not good. I believe we need to take critical look of the basic school. It is not good at all.
So, Rev, I'm grateful that you brought in the perspective of the local assembly, because they represent government at that level. There is the reason why we have decentralized our structure and our system. So, as NAT, because obviously your teachers are affected by the phenomenon, they have to go to class. Some of them, like I mentioned earlier, are innovative. They try to find solutions for their students and make it more engaging for them to help them, enjoy the learning process so it doesn't become burdensome. But as NAT, what have you done over the years, or what have you tried to do to draw the attention of the local assembly and even government as a whole to this rather disturbing problem?
Well, I think since 1931 that NAT came to be. Every year, in our quest to draw whichever government is in power attention to the fact that there are a lot of deficits in terms of infrastructure and furniture. Anytime we celebrate World Teachers Day, whichever region that holds the national one, not go into that region, identify a school in a deprived area, and provide furniture, and also put up some sort of summer hut to cater for children that are in a collapsed building. And we've been doing this since 1931. Just last year, when in northern region, we did the same. And sometimes we even have to provide life jackets to an entire community that our teachers fly their work in that community, that they have to cross some stream or river. So it is something that we've been doing consistently every year, just to draw the employer or the government attention that, look, you cannot get quality education when the children do not have access to furniture. You cannot have access to quality education when the children do not have textbooks. You cannot have quality education when the children are living in a debt-trapped building. Look, in Central Region, about 4 years ago, a public school that was even a mission school, Methodist KG school, in Esikuma of Brakwa, the children were playing during break, and the entire building collapsed on these children, and 6 of them died. 6 of them died.
So, Rev, I mean, we focus on the children a lot, but let me just allow you to share with us how this also affects the teachers, because I don't even see a chair for a teacher there. Talk of a cupboard for you to keep the books and keep yourself organized. What do teachers go through, and how does it make you feel?
In fact, our teachers who are set to go to state communities to work, the fact is that we really feel for them. Because you go to that particular place, you see, teachers are not even willing to go there. Because apart from the children and the teachers not having chairs and tables to sit on, even accommodation for the teachers to lay their head, there's no accommodation for the teachers. Meanwhile, the government will not even give the teacher rent allowance to even go and look for accommodation of his or her choice. The government is supposed to even motivate these teachers in our collective agreement that those who have accepted to go into these deprived and hard-to-reach areas, at least 20% of their gross salary should be given to them since 2009 to date. That allowance has never and ever gotten to the teachers. So all that we do as a union is to encourage the members who have accepted to be in those localities. And anytime there are opportunities that we have to help the teachers, these are the teachers that we call on first before we look at those who are in the urban areas. So I think it is a very difficult situation our members find themselves in.
Back to you, Joyce. And so, how can we be creative about solving this problem? I know we are a very benevolent society, and people occasionally will donate items, will donate desks to schools, but it doesn't cover or deal with the problem in its entirety. Looking at the whole structure in terms of equitable distribution across the country, to all parts of the country, no matter what type of community it is or the status of the people who live in it, how can we ensure that we are balancing it? At least the basics are shared across the board.
And the situation is very, very gloomy. And I want to bring to light a bit of hope that all is not lost, and we can still commit ourselves to ensuring that our educational structure is very equitable, inclusive, with all the necessary resources that the teachers need. I want to thank UNESCO for the opportunity to support International Child Development Program, the civil society platform on SDG 4 for this advocacy that we are doing. And on this International Day of Education, we want to commit in informing the government or doing this advocacy that we need to invest in the people and prioritize education. We need to make sure that we are leaving no one behind, that whatever we are doing in this post-pandemic era is equitable and inclusive. Teachers will have to be supported with capacities that they need to do their work. All the materials needed. It's very sad to see children lying on the floor. Unbelievable. So the government can still go ahead, even in this post-pandemic era, to provide what it needs for us to achieve our sustainable development goal, which is just around the corner. 2030 is when we are going to give an account of an educational system. And if teachers are not even ready to go to support schools and get this foundation that we need, this learning that we need for national development, we are at a loss.
But Joyce, how do these teachers go to these places? I mean, like I said, some of them have really tried, but talk about teacher salary, that's a conversation for another day. So even if they want to dip their hands into their own pockets to try and solve some of the problems, it's a challenge. So how do they go when the basic things they need to execute their mandate is not provided?
And that is why they don't even go. That is why they don't even go. Because can you imagine teachers going to the classrooms? The structures are not even appropriate for teaching and learning to take place. The children are all over the place. Parents who cannot afford are not being supported with the little leap programs that will help empower them. The education service is the solutions because there are no resources for them to go and monitor and make sure teachers are doing the right things. The whole system is sort of broken. And that's why we within the civil society will encourage the Ghana Education Service to look at the structures, the teachers, how they can go, the resources that they need, the teaching and learning materials, the classroom environment that will be conducive enough for them to do their work. Otherwise, my sister, if you are posted to a community in Pandai, a fresh teacher who's come out of training and is poised to do the work, and you are confronted with this atmosphere, this environment, lack of the needed resources to do your work, indeed, I don't think you'll be motivated enough to go, or even to stay within the sector. You would rather look elsewhere for other opportunities rather than staying within the education service. There is this package that teachers who are ready to go to rural communities are given a certain percentage as motivation. These are not done for teachers who are ready to go. So they go, and with all this myriad of challenges, they just want to quit the system. We are pleading with government to take a good look at budgets, allocations within the education sector. Like my brother said, the budget was reduced. And how can we make progress with this myriad of challenges? The budget needs to be looked at once again. Girls' education during the pandemic, the number of girls that fell victim to teenage pregnancy is just overwhelming. How do we get these girls back? How will we provide the necessary resources, the capacity for the teachers to be able to work with these girls to get them back to school? We need to look at the system carefully, and strategies needed to uplift the image of the teaching profession in Ghana. It's what we have to actually look at. Otherwise, I think we are going nowhere.
Now, to our politicians, we have seen over the years that when you're committed to doing something, you do it. In the clip that we played, Jojo Kobna's feature, before we started the conversation, you heard Vice President, then he was running mate to President Akufo-Addo. In 2016, he visited some of these schools just before the elections, and the pictures were all over the place. And he made a commitment to dealing with this problem. We are in the third year of the second term of this government. And you would have thought that something significant, something dramatic and phenomenal would have been done to solve this problem. But it still persists, unfortunately so. To our politicians, if you commit to solving this problem, you will solve it. You are capable. There is money, we know. It's just the lack of commitment. Now, Rev, there appears to be a widening gap. And so as the good schools, the well-established schools are trying everything to improve and get better, you have schools like the one that was shown in our feature that appear to be still at zero, no improvement whatsoever. While we wait for government to do something, what would you say about philanthropy, which we used to see a lot previously, and how it can impact or help deal with the problem while we wait for government to make that big move, which we hope will be soon? Hello, Rev?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, I think we can only appeal to them to continue to do the good things they are doing for those of us who find ourselves in the rural areas. But you see, what we can do to solve this problem is to formulate a policy that all those in charge of education, all those who are working, who are public sector working, they have to send their children in these public schools. But then, if you are a DC, you are a judge, you are a medical practitioner, a teacher, a lawyer, and at the basic level, you do not send your children to that school. If let's say in a community, the chief inspector's child is in that public school, the reverend minister's child is in that public school, and there is no furniture, quickly these people who rally together and make provision for their children. But those who are managing education.
So how will we do this? Would we have to force them by legislation, legally? You
Exactly,
think?
exactly, because in elsewhere, if you are a public sector worker, your children cannot go to private school. Because if I'm a minister of education, I'm a PRO for GES or the minister of education, and my ward is in private school. And I hear that the people are giving 1 CD a day for feeding. How will it affect me? But if my child is there, and I hear that the children are being given 1 CD, or they don't have furniture, they don't have textbook, all come together. Because you cannot formulate policy for citizens of this country, and you don't believe in the policy you yourself have formulated. That is look at the secondary school level. Why is it that the same people who don't trust in the basic school, public basic school, when they get to the secondary school, all of us prefer our children to be in public secondary school? Why are we not sending our children to private secondary school? Because the minister's child is in front of him, the DC child is in front of him. Whatever they need from the parents, the minister will quickly go and provide. Why can't we say same when we can see that the central regional minister, her daughter or her son is in maybe Marie Basic School? So that should be the way forward. For other than that, we've always been lamenting. All those who come to public policy, they don't believe in the public basic school system. They don't believe in it. And the evidence is there, clearly.
Rav, I'll come back to you for your concluding thoughts. Let me just say that we've been joined by Cepham Lord Mensah, who is an educationist, for her take on this conversation. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining the program.
Good morning, Bernice.
Great. So we've been having a conversation about quality education, provision of basic things like furniture. My colleague Jojo Kobna has produced 2 editions of his series, Ghana's Schools of Shame, and it's a sad sight. It's you just cannot understand how this happens in 21st century in a country like Ghana, which is a focal point for a lot of people when they want to talk about Africa and West Africa. But Cepham, we clearly have a problem with quality, right? It's as though we are excited about the numbers. So we have these number of schools, but we don't have chairs, we don't have books, we don't have desks. We have these number of children benefiting from free senior high school, yet we're struggling to feed them. Some of them are being asked to bring papers to print their mock examination questions. Is our problem where our focus is? Are we so fixated on numbers, quantity, instead of quality?
So in 2018, there was a report by World Bank where they indicated that if nothing is done, 56% of our students would have, in terms of 18 years to come, will have issues with that in terms of our human capital index. And this is as a result of the kind of education that we deliver or we give to our learners, as in the kind of education that Ghana delivers, according to the report, is poor. And so it's not of quality. And you and I think I have mentioned it in one of the platforms that when it comes to the educational sphere, quality means different things to different people. But if you are talking about quality fit for purpose, then quality, one of my professors will say that quality changes from input, process, output. So if it's input, process, output, I would like to put it in this manner that then we are talking about the deliberate or the kind of facilitators that we use to teach our learners, the kind of curriculum that we engage in, the facilities that the students are used or we use for these students, and how the processes that we engage for these quality issues to be effective. So if we are talking about having 7,000 of our students in a certain region and district not having access to desks, I would also like to add that we have 1 million plus of our learners not in school. Yeah. So if we want to talk about quality, meaning that we are having issues within these areas. I was happy when Mr. Owusu and Madam Joyce mentioned that the budgetary allocation for education is woefully inadequate. Yes, when you go through the budget, that is the 2023, we have 12%, but there's a benchmark allocation of government budget that should be between 15 to 20. So when you even look at that, it means that we are even lacking behind. 12 to 20 is a step. So when you compare it to 2022, something has been added, but we are still not making that impact. We are still not making that effort. When this year, 2023, International Day for Education, it says what? To invest in people, you have to prioritize education. So if you are prioritizing education through investment, then efforts must be made in such a way that we put our money where our mouth is. So meaning that funding of education is a priority. We cannot commit 12% of our expenditure of our money to education, whereas we need more than 15 to 20. You remember that somewhere in 2021, our president traveled to the UK, and he made a commitment that for a period of 5 years, that is 2021 to 2025, he's going to increase that budgetary allocation to 23%. So I don't know whether it is going to be done on incremental basis, because as we are speaking now, we are in 2023. Yes, the budget is what, 12%? Nothing close to the GDP of maybe 4 to 6%. We are not even close. Then how are we going to take care of these children that are writing, squatting, or lying on the floor, for better want of the word, excuse me for the language I am coming to use, as if they are animals on the floor? Then I'm sorry. And yes, they are going to be competing with other people in other regions for the same basic education exams. Where is the fairness? So we need to go back to the drawing board and put our money where our mouth is, as in investing in education. How can we be innovative enough, equitable enough, and efficient enough to put the money where we want that kind of result? Because if you don't do this, then I'm sorry. The environment that the student learns is important. The caliber of teachers that the students interact with or nurture the student is also important. And what we do is we just have to be practical and conscious about where we invest.
Safam, is it a case of, or let me put it this way, are we deceiving ourselves if we think that once they are in a certain setup and receiving some form of education, they will be fine? Is this, bad news waiting to happen in the future? Because you just referenced that 2018 report about the Human Capital Index. Are we sleeping on our job? Do we get it Do our leaders get it? That, look, yes, you have free SHS, you have this, you have that, you have that. But if you miss out on the quality bit, you are just deceiving yourself. Do you think that our leaders get it?
Our leaders get it very much. But let me make this statement. You will notice that when it comes to policy implementation, it's a different thing altogether. When the resources are not mobilized to implement the policy, then we will be found wanting. Yes, STEM education is good, absolutely excellent. However, if you're having issues with foundational learning, and you notice that over 50-something% of our learners cannot read, and 60% of our learners cannot do simple, basic mathematics, these foundational skills are the core for which we are going to build upon for other learning benefits. So if you're having issues in this environment and we cannot sort it out, yet jump and go and contribute or invest in other areas, then I am thinking that we are more interested in having political gains than making policy gains. It has to be policy gain than political gains. Because if you want to have policy gains, that policy gain would travel beyond political regimes. It can even take 7, 8, 10, 20 years to come. But if you are committed to these policies, it can travel beyond other government regimes, so that when these things are there, another government comes, that government will continue and know that this is the way forward. We cannot give meager amounts to education and expect education to flourish. If you want our educational system to be in a manner that we want it to compete with a global trend, then something must be done. Then we have to go back to the drawing board. How are we investing in education? It says to invest in people, we have to prioritize education. How do we prioritize education if you're not putting money into education? These things that we are talking about, to sustain free HSS is about education. To sustain STEM education that we are projecting now is about education. To sustain every other thing, to train the teacher, the facilities involved, to give that teacher the needed environment, the conducive environment for him or her to deliver, is about money. So where are we putting that money? Must we go and implement new projects, or can we reinforce, do something good and refurbish, add value to the existing ones? If we have to do this, then it means that we have to be committed and we have to remove party politics, party biases, and concentrate on policies that can travel beyond political regimes and look for Ghana, not for ourselves. Right.
I like the bit on policy gains and not political gains. We're wrapping up the conversation now. Let me start with you, Joyce. I strongly believe that we can solve this problem if we want to. I don't think that this is a hard to solve problem. Like, illegal mining, which involves adults who have made up their minds that they will be deviant and do what they've been asked not to do. These are children who just need a chair to sit on. In wrapping up the conversation, how soon do you think we can solve this problem, and what will your wish and your dream be? Hello, Joyce.
Yeah, thank you. And my wish and my dream will be what my colleague just said, to prioritize our education sector and put our monies where our mouth is. The most important component for me is the early grade level, where the data is clear about our learning outcomes at P1 when we do the assessment. So the early grade level and all its accompaniments, the environment, the teaching and learning strategies, the resources needed for children to learn, to build the foundation for other levels to pick up and then move with it, is very important. So if we are prioritizing or investing in people and prioritizing education, we must look at education right from the foundation stage and build it over the years, continuum of what previous governments have done. Then we can reap the results at the end.
Joyce,
But
so
if
would
we
you
take-
say, sorry to interject, Joyce. So would you say that we missed it? Should that have come before free senior high school? Would you say we put the cart before the horse?
I think the evidence is there for everybody to see that, yes, the cart is actually before the horse. When we have children at the early grade, P1, P2, lying on the floor and doing all manner of things that does not inure to the benefit of our educational outcomes that we keep on talking about. But we are interested in a component that, for some reason, is the priority, and we are not receiving what we need at that basic that will lead us to that level. Then we have put the cart before the horse. Reading is key to everything we are doing. Children cannot read based on the EGRA results that we are receiving. It's worrying. So we need to go back and put the necessary resources needed to build the blocks up to the level that we want, the senior high school. Otherwise, we are still having challenges. The learning environment at that stage should be improved. The budget allocation should be increased 12%, which is way beyond the benchmark.
Right, Joyce.
Way below.
Thank you so
if
much.
You ask me, this is it.
Thank you so much. Let me come to you, Reverend Isaac Owusu, President of NAT. We know the teachers. We've heard from you. We've highlighted the concerns. How soon do you think we can solve the problem, and what should we do in doing that quickly?
Yes, I think it is long overdue. It is something that we can solve. And we are challenging all the duty bearers, most especially the state, to perform its function as enshrined under Article 38, to make sure that they make facilities available to these kids that we are teaching. And also encourage the teachers who find themselves in those communities to help our young ones. You see, the political gain outweighs the national interest. That is why the basic schools are suffering. When an MP wants to distribute furniture, this MP will not look at where the school that needs furniture. The MP will rather go to a school that he or she feels that this place, this community, I can get more votes. Meanwhile, that school will already be having furniture. So we are pleading that, let's look, nobody can make this country better for us. It is we, the citizens, that can make the country better for ourselves. So the FMDAs, in their composite budget, any time they prepare budget at the assembly, they factor in education. And you go there, they would never support these schools within their jurisdiction. So we cannot rely on philanthropists always. We have a duty. That is why we are paying tax in the country. So it is my wish that at least next year we will assess the situation and at least see that at least we've done 20% better than this year.
Thank you so much for your time this morning, Reverend Isaac Owusu. Sefam Lord Mensa, you have the last word. We were just showing the graphics there, and you can tell that the disparity is telling. It appears that in the northern part of the country, there is a lot of work that needs to be done. And obviously, some have tried to link that with the level of poverty in that part of the country and all that. But that's why there is a government, and the government must make a decision on how to even bridge the gap, even when it comes to the issue of poverty. So how do you think we can do that, especially in dealing with the situation that the kids find themselves in? Quickly, please, in a minute. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. I caught a statement our president made. He says poverty shall not be an excuse for any Ghanaian child to reach their full potential. So it doesn't matter whether they are in a deprived or marginalized area. Education is a right. and under no circumstances should others have the best of it and others should be at a disadvantage. So moving forward, you notice that in 2022, September thereof, Ghana participated in Transforming Education Summit. The prime purpose of reimaging education in line with the SDG 4, i.e. the inclusive education. So Ghana made a commitment statement to provide, to make sure that all these things that we need to project or promote our education is important. And considering what is happening in Afghanistan in terms of girl-child education, I would like to say this. It is becoming more of a privilege for us, those of us in countries where the girl child can have access to education. We must do everything to protect that access. We must do everything to retain the girl child in school for her to be able to make positive impacts to others. Nobody should thwart this agenda in terms of policies should not make girl childs not stay in school. You did something short that I think you are going to be showing on the 26th of January about classroom mothers. And some of these children is as a result of is it poverty or certain things. Yeah, there's a policy all right for them to go back to the classroom. Yet, what are we doing as education providers, communities, stakeholders to ensure that our girl child stays in school, get the best out of the system and come up and impact? We cannot overemphasize the gains of education. When you educate the woman, as we all know, you are educating the nation. So let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's commit to educational gains. To invest in people, we have to prioritize education, make sure that the needed resources that we need to project education in a manner that it will benefit everybody. We should all be speaking the same language. The advocacy should continue. It shouldn't be me alone, but it should be all of us on board.
Thank you so much for your time. Sefam Lord Mensah is an educationist. Earlier you heard Reverend Isaac Owusu, who is the president of the Ghana National Association of Teachers, and Joyce Larnyoh, an educationist and country director of International Child Development Program. We'll move on with the program. It's now time to get interactive with you. Benjamin Akapo joins me for that. We'll bring you we'll give you the opportunity to share your details with us in a moment.
Check for the calendar. It's a new year. Happy New Year! Start looking for your walking kids. Lace your boots. Let's hit the streets of Kumasi. Exercise, burn the calories, socialize, and have fun. It's the Love Affair Fitness Walk. Throw a challenge to your colleague at work. Record a minute video as corporate institutions, groups, or individuals, declaring your readiness to partake in the Love Affair Fitness Walk. The best video wins big. There will be item 30, solid refreshment, networking opportunities, brass band, and serious morale. The Love Affair Fitness Walk is on Saturday, 4th of February 2023 at the Kumasi City Mall, 6 a.m. sharp. For inquiries, call 0245 594 425.
Love Affair Fitness Walk, your sure way to a healthy lifestyle.
The economy is tough. Things are hard. Businesses are struggling. So we are laying people off. And you're coming to individuals who you have cut their hair. And now they are ahead. One, you increase taxes. What has happened to your income? Your disposable income has reduced. Two, now, a lot of your family friends are losing their jobs. Now they have to share their income with you because you have to send Momo here. What's your disposable income? Gone. Now you chop this one. You've brought in new taxes. You've chopped all this. And in addition, now you are saying that the one that I